We are so excited to share this work with you because it's been a long time coming. Matt and I have known each other for a while, and he's trained in physics, and I have a degree in wildlife and fisheries, so it took climate change and ag to finally bring us together on a work project. But this was part of the extension mini grants, as Christy mentioned, which I just have to say is a wonderful way to build capacity for all these things that you don't know that you're going to need eventually, because we didn't know that we needed to do this until after we had gotten the first survey. And so I'm really excited to share this with you. Just to give you a brief overview of the social science that we've done with the project, we conducted the general public survey, which has all of the counties in the REACCH region and the whole states, so that we could eventually bring that into this app. We have the agricultural producer survey, which is the basis of this information, where they responded about climate change perceptions, risk perceptions, farming practices, and I'm just going to give one more plug for that brief report that JD has a bunch of copies with him that will give you a lot more of the details about that. And then based on some of the results from our survey, we decided to do a qualitative study on why those results were what they were, and to better understand the how and how we can address these things. So we wanted to really take it to a actionable research level. So also I should let you know that I have an app on my phone to tell me to stop using my phone so much. And so I was texting my friend while, just kidding, no, I won't talk about that, but you see people texting while they're on a date. And now farmers can text each other about crops, and so we figured why not push for an app. Now the REACCH team has a whole wide array of apps that are very in-depth and you can query, and they're online thanks to Stephen Fricke, Ed, Eric, Paul. You know, the whole team has put together a lot of really interesting stuff. I know Brad's going to talk about one too. This app is very light because what we found is that we needed to reach out to these crop consultants who have a very specific need. The reason we selected crop consultants is because if you look at the trust, this is from our ag producer survey, the most trusted people about management are other producers. Second are company crop advisors and independent crop advisors. And then here we have University Extension. But don't worry, when it comes to climate change information, the Extension is the most trusted resource. And what my thought is that if we can share some of the climate knowledge through Extension to these company crop consultants, we can take advantage of this little advantage here. So what I did, I went out with our REU student, Joanna Parkman, and we interviewed several of the crop consultants in the region. You might recognize many of these signs from driving around. And although they aren't necessarily vocal about climate change on their websites or at field days, I learned from Syngenta's website that they're taking action to just reduce the amount of packaging and the shipment costs by simply concentrating their product by half. So you can think about how much they're moving, and if they're reducing that much transportation and water, these are the financial and environmental benefits. So what did I learn from the crop consultant study? That they often grew up on farms, they're trained in science and management, they often have degrees from our land grant institutions, and they constantly are updating their certifications. You'll see them at field days and getting all that credit. And they're curious. And then I cannot understate or overstate the importance of their influence on the region, because they manage so many accounts to the greatest degree of depth by influencing applications, crop protection, soil fertility, crop rotation, and financial options. They influence almost every aspect of the farming management of multiple farms. And I mean, we have to be wary because it is a for-profit institution, but it's really important to know that these people have deep relationships with their growers. They know their birthdays, their divorces, you know, everything about them. And they're on call all the time. There's a couple things that they don't talk about, though, so much as varieties and crop insurance. So now the intersection of climate change and these crop consultants, just wanted to highlight that most of my respondents, of which there's only 8 in the study, but I found that there was so much triangulation and repetition in that I felt that that was pretty representative. Also, my grant was running out. They believe that climate change is occurring and that it is prudent to adapt, especially these young guys coming out of the universities. So if you're going to talk with crop consultants and share your data, I would recommend putting it in shapefiles because that's something they can import into their proprietary systems with their companies because they all have their own company, and recognize that they're extremely busy and that they're working hundreds of hours. So we tried to take advantage of this short-term opportunity to communicate climate change and maximize their capacity to talk with this wide grower audience that trusts them. So if you're going to start dispelling a myth, you have to present a different alternative to climate change, and maybe that alternative would stick better if it's something that's relevant to the production rather than this esoteric climate change is happening, and it becomes an advantage to know about it. We've also found that graphs like this, although they're persuasive to some people, don't work on a non-scientific audience. And so translating climate change into things that people can see themselves in. So here you can see, here's the Illinois, and this is a graphic from the Union of Concerned Scientists, a visualization to show that by the end of the century, their summers are going to be like Texas's. So then you have to think, do I really want to live in Texas? They have a bunch of other, sorry, Matt. We only lasted 4 years. So with those principles in mind of providing alternatives and visualizing people so that they can see where they are within the context of this climate change situation, I begged Matt for help because he has the technological skills to build this kind of thing. So he's going to talk about how he built it, and then we're going to show you our tool. It's brand new. It's like fresh off the press, zeros and ones.
Yeah, which is always a little nerve-wracking to give a demo of something for the first time. I joined NKN just about 5 months ago, and I'm really excited to be there because I'm really passionate about sharing data and making that a reality instead of something that's complicated for people to do, make it easy. So we try to do that at NKN. And keeping that in mind, so Leigh mentioned the crop consultants are busy. So one of the requirements that she brought to me is that it has to be really easy for a crop consultant to just look at this. And in general, in building a tool like this, if you're working with somebody who builds tools like this, I'd recommend to keep in mind that there's always more to build than there's time or money for. And with that in mind, we constantly reevaluated the requirements. I had to give up just last night trying to make a PDF of the report that we're going to show you. I thought up till like last night, I was, oh yeah, we got to have that, but we don't, turns out. And I showed Leigh a prototype many weeks ago, and we've iterated over it 5 or 10 times. Does this look good? No, that's not going to work, and for one reason or another. And what we finally figured out is that the real requirements are that the data itself should not all be visible at once. That means that the actual raw data shouldn't be visible. So I used something called Python Flask, which is a really lightweight micro framework as opposed to something that would serve more people, like a content management system with a lot of the same types of data. This had to be custom, and it had to fit a narrow set of requirements. And we had to compare up to 3 arbitrary regions of the survey. So you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. All counties or groups of counties or whole states. And all this needed to be viewed in a single page. And by keeping our plans lean and focused, we delivered a product that doesn't get in the way of doing its own job, which is efficiently delivering information. Let's see. So, Leigh, did you want to say more after this? Or just
go
show?
ahead to the app.
Okay.
So you can see we have a couple options to compare. So right now you can query 3 regions, and it's meant to be viewed on a phone, and it loads really quickly so that people can make different decisions about it. And so we included tillage because that's something people are usually interested in, and then some of the perception questions about climate change and how they see themselves as conservationists. And then and Matt made all these graphs like so styled, thankfully, so that they're visible on a lot of different platforms. And then what I've drafted here are potential ways that we can talk about climate change based on what we know about their farming, and hopefully we can get some information from you all to augment this so that it's a really quick way to learn more as you're driving through a county, to know like, okay, these are the types of growers that I'm dealing with, and this is how I can talk with them. If I'm driving through a field day, then I know that this is how they responded to this survey. So this is a quick and consumable and short synthesis, but we want to be able to link to other resources. And future additions to this app are to merge it with the REACCH tool and make sure it's on the right website and all of that. It would be so cool, based on the interviews, that people want to know about changing crops and what's likely to come into the area, because they're the ones that are going to talk about this over coffee at 7 a.m. in their offices. We're going to add some demographics, the connections to resources, and a crowd report. So right now we have like this Weather Underground type of map where we have a couple of the data points from the producers, and we have like this kind of sense, but eventually we'd like to incorporate like, what do the crop consultants notice, and is it, you can do crowd reports on weather sites, so we would like to know what they think. But I think that's it for us. But Matt will be around if you have any other questions, and so will I.
1 minute for questions.
1 minute. Yeah.
When is this available?
It's available as of this morning, but we have to clean up a couple parts.
So let's say by the end of,
Maybe end of next week. We'll send you all the link.
All right. Let's thank Leigh and Matt.
Thanks.